Hello students, welcome to EPG Patashala. Myself, Dr. Nagratna, currently working as Senior Assistant Professor of Law at National Law School of India University, Bangalore. Let's look at the module titled A Socio-Ethical Analysis of Anti-Beggary Laws in India. The object of this module will be to understand the ways in which states in India legally regulate the menace of beggary and the related offences, including the offences of abetment and attempt to commit the offences under the concerned laws. To further assess the legality of this very approach of the state from criminological perspective, including social and ethical perspective, in order to make such assessment, this module further aims to look at some of the selected provisions of the selected anti-beggary laws of India. Let's look at this concern of beggary. Beggary as a practice is in existence in India since a long time. In fact, a king was duty bound to take care of everyone in his state, including the beggars. And this in fact was a practice in ancient India which continued throughout the period of monarchy. The incident narrated in Ramayana, that is of Ravana going to Sita in disguise as a sannyasi asking for alms, is an indication of the fact that begging was an accepted practice in India since time immemorial. Thus in India, various ancient Hindu texts also refers to this system but in varied names like Bhiksham, Dhanam, etc. All of these indicated nothing but giving alms, which was perceived as a part of dharma and religious as well as moral duty of a person, bringing with it blessings and fortune. In fact, every religious act, including any yaga or yagnas, always ended with giving alms in form of food or money or cloth to destitutes and beggars. According to Professor Upendra Bakshi, traditionally begging has been an accepted practice and in fact was an accepted way of life in India, and giving alms to the needy was inbuilt in the social fabric. However, the position changed during the colonial rule, as according to Victorians, beggary embodied laziness and moral degeneration. Today, most of the states have adopted laws to regulate beggary, thereby going against earlier social and ethical practice. What are the outcomes of this module? The outcome of the module would be to understand the nature of and the factors responsible for beggary in India, to analyze the current extent of existence of this problem of beggary in India, to assess in brief the current legal approach adopted in regulating beggary in India by selected states, to understand the implications of such legal approach and also to critically look at this legal approach from criminological and various other perspectives as earlier mentioned, and ultimately to suggest appropriate measures that should replace the current approach of the state. What are the factors that are responsible for beggary? Generally, the factors that are responsible for beggary are more and many in number. However, poverty is said to be one of the major reasons. According to a reported survey, around 85% of the destitute people were earning far below poverty line before they got into this practice of beggary. An ActionAid International study on beggary in India shows that 99% of men and 97% of women got into this practice only due to poverty. According to Subrata Day's study conducted in the cities of 4 states, out of 84% of destitute people who entered into begging due to poverty, 25% took begging because of poverty along with disability, disease and old age reasons. 15% of them took this because of family problems that was also coupled with the problems related to poverty, and amongst women, which constitutes less than 1/3 of the population, the family disorganization was another menace. Disability, disease and old age are also coupled with these above mentioned factors. Thus, all these needs to be looked at when you address the concerns of beggary. According to Sri S.K. Bhattacharya, beggars can generally be classified into 4 categories: juveniles, able-bodied, diseased and old and infirm, physically handicapped and mentally ill. On the other hand, the other reasons responsible for the prevalence of beggary are religious aspirations, depression, or ideological differences. The fact that most beggars were found outside temples and places of religious significance where alms are given more readily and more generously makes it clear that almost all religions consider begging as an accepted institution and practice of the society, and giving alms to them is in fact considered as a sacred duty. Further, it is the immigrant status, age factor, disability, disease and lowest social status which are also responsible for the prevalence of this practice of beggary, and all of these must in fact be considered as mentioned earlier while framing a law or adopting a law or implementing a law. The statistics of beggars in India is in fact revealed through various studies and surveys conducted. According to the Ministry of State for Social Justice, in a report that was reported in 2015, the statistics are like this. India has 4 lakh beggars, with West Bengal having 81,000 being the maximum number amongst the state. There are 4 lakh 13,670 beggars and 2.2 lakh male and 1.91 lakh females. West Bengal has 81,244 beggars, and this tops the list, followed by 65,835 beggars in the state of UP, while 30,218 in Andhra Pradesh and 29,723 in Bihar and 28,695 in Madhya Pradesh. In Assam, Manipur and West Bengal, female beggars in fact outnumbered their male counterparts. The Union Territories also records the status and the statistics of beggars, but in comparison to the statistics available at the state level, this shows the least number of people taking beggary as a system of practice or as a means of earning their livelihood. Amongst the Union Territories, Delhi, however, records the largest number of beggars. 2,187 in fact is the statistics that was shown as being the number of beggars who have taken into this system in the city of Delhi, while Chandigarh has 121. Among the northeastern states, Assam topped the list with 22,116 beggars, while Mizoram with 53 as being the lowest ranked state. States of Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Gujarat, Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal, and the Union Territories of Delhi and Goa in fact have enforced anti-beggary laws. Delhi in fact has adopted the Bombay Prevention of Begging Act of 1959 with its extension to the territory. Further, various states including Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal also has state laws which criminalizes the act of beggary. Thus, more or less, almost all states have adopted a punitive and regulatory approach to address the problem of beggary through these kind of enactments at the state level. Let's know about some of the states' legal approach in this regard. Since 1961, Delhi has been administered by, as mentioned earlier, the antiquated Bombay Prevention of Begging Act of 1959, which makes begging in public places a crime and a punishable offence. A beggar under Section 2, Clause D of the Bombay Prevention of Begging Act 1959 is defined as a beggar who has no visible means of subsistence and wandering about or remaining in any public place in such condition or manner as makes it likely that the person doing so exists by soliciting or receiving alms. Almost all other states also adopts the same approach and definition. In fact, has a similar definition of considering a helpless poor person as an offender just because he depends upon the alms of another for his survival. Almost all states' laws on beggary criminalizes beggary by making it a seriously punishable offence. It is, however, true that in spite of this approach, the laws have not prevented the problem of beggary, and in the problems associated with beggars, like nuisances to public, victimization of beggars by many, including the members of the public, police and the mafia gangs involved in it, and also the problems faced by them in the rehabilitation centers such as neglect and mismanagement, etc., are all unnoticed or not taken care of by the current law framework. The Delhi High Court had in fact once directed that the traffic department should clear the city from beggars and hawkers, regarding them as obstruction to the smooth flow of traffic. Regarding the nature of legal approach, it is essential to deal with beggary, though many states in India have their laws essential to prevent beggary and to rehabilitate beggars, yet unfortunately neither the police nor the courts practically apply this nor display satisfactory interest in such concerns of prevention and regulation. As stated above, it is the poverty which is one of the main reasons responsible for the practice of beggary in our country. Unless this is properly addressed, the menace of beggary cannot be prevented. Thus, it is essential to have both legal as well as institutional framework so as to effectively deal with beggary practice, including preventing the problem. And prevention of beggary in fact can be done by framing and implementing policies and schemes which addresses poverty and related concerns. Though the current state policies includes various schemes and programs essential to eradicate poverty in general and to prevent beggary in specific, it lacks effectiveness in its implementation. However, it cannot be totally ruled out that there are many who take up begging as a matter of choice. One of the surveys carried out by the Social Welfare Department belonging to Delhi government along with Delhi University's Department of Social Work in fact revealed that many beggars who are able-bodied and educated were forced to get into beggary because of unemployment. According to a reported study, of over 5,000 beggars surveyed, 4 turned out to be postgraduates who were supplementing their monthly salaries by begging on weekends. 6 were graduates, while 796 had studied up to higher secondary level education. A study also revealed that more than 66% of beggars are able-bodied, and that begging as a livelihood wins over casual labor is a fact that cannot be ruled out. According to the Maharashtra government, the beggars in Mumbai make up to an annual income of worth rupees 180 crore a year on the whole, with a daily income ranging between rupees 20 to 80 per person. Almost every survey profiles beggars as largely contented lot unwilling to take up honest labor. Thus, a law which is able to distinguish between a person taking up begging due to lack of other means of livelihood or due to impossibility of making an earning, either due to his health, age or such other concerns, and on the other hand the other person taking up begging deliberately in spite of having ability and opportunity to earn the livelihood should be differentiated, and accordingly the law's approach towards both should be different. Of course, a person taking up begging in spite of the ability of having the livelihood or earning the livelihood should definitely be dealt with the law stringently, maybe also with imposition of criminal liability. Let us look at the current state's approach more from criminological perspective. According to criminology, it is the object of immorality and the harmful nature of the act which are the common objects of crimes and the criminal laws. Though there are certain acts criminalized, despite having no immorality in it, yet it is one of the important considerations for criminalizing any act. This element of immorality in fact lacks in begging in most of the cases, thereby not deserving criminalization. According to a criminologist, conduct is criminal not because it is moral or immoral, but on consideration of possibility of its implementation to the legal machinery. Hence, the impossibility of the effective implementation of law should also be considered before implementing a law, especially a law which criminalizes a thing that actually cannot be effectively curtailed. Hence, this should also be considered importantly by the lawmakers, while criminalizing any act including the acts of begging. According to Sir William Blackstone, in his commentaries on the law of England, he says that a crime is firstly an act that is committed or omitted in violation of public law which is forbidding or commanding such an act. And secondly, in terms of public rights and duties, a crime is violation of public rights and duties due to the whole community considered as a community. Thus, any act, including beggary, can be criminalized through a law declaring it to be so. But even a law declaring an act as a crime must consider factors essential to criminalize, like the injury or harm based approach, that is, whether such an offense is actually causing any injury or harm to another person or to the society at large, or whether such act is immoral in nature, and many other such factors. The nature of sanctions, on the other hand, imposed by anti-beggary laws, being mostly punitive in nature, also requires a relook. Criminalizing beggary without considering factors essential to criminalize is nothing but criminalizing poverty. Further, criminalization of beggary is unjustified, as it often leads to the dismissive treatment of the beggars in the police stations and in the courts, which further shows mismanagement and disrespect and discrimination of beggars. Further, imposing fine upon beggars, thereby leading to further victimization of beggars who are already victims of poverty and neglect by the state, is uncalled for approach by the law. The current laws consider anyone who appears to be a poor or a destitute as a beggar. It is necessary to devise a method essential to distinguish beggars from others like street vendors, street performers, pavement dwellers, migrant workers, and others who might solicit alms. Such wider interpretation of the law or the application of the law in fact leads to nothing but misuse or the abuse of the law, and this in fact requires more specific and clear application and interpretation, which necessitates clear and unambiguous legal definition and legal provision. Definitions like beggars, etc., needs in fact a redefinition and reanalysis. The factors that must be considered in regarding a person as a beggar, on the other hand, should also be relooked so that a rag picker or a migrant worker is not randomly picked up and confined in rehabilitation centers, or is not dealt with like an offender under a law. Under the current legal approach, the social welfare departments and the police are empowered to conduct raids in public places and also to pick up people found begging and then send them to institutions which are certified as rehabilitation centers. Though this is essential for preventing begging as well as for rehabilitating beggars, yet it is found that many times people are randomly picked up and the actual procedure of convicting them, which is essential to send them to rehabilitation center, are not at all complied with. Thus, our law needs to address this concern from a socio-economic perspective rather than criminalize the entire community of beggars. In this regard, certain legal provisions needs to be framed, while certain others requires appropriate amendment. This can ensure that only people who are actually involved in begging and have neither any means to earn their livelihood nor have the ability to do so are sent to rehabilitation centers. Further, powers imposed upon magistrates under the current law needs to be effectively exercised by such judicial officers only after considering relevant factors like the economic factors, social factors, health conditions of such beggar, possibility of making and earning, and the need of sending them to rehabilitation centers, and the period during which you send such people to rehabilitation center or confine him in this custody of rehabilitation center. Everything requires a relook. Let's now look at the alternative approach that can be adopted by our country in this regard. India currently lacks a cohesive and a humane national policy which is essential to tackle the problem of beggary. Our laws of the day are unfortunately a replica of the old laws of Europe, which fails to take care of the socio-economic concerns which are otherwise responsible for the system of begging, and this wrongfully makes begging in all instances a criminal act. Hence, we need a uniform law to the entire nation with a common legal approach to embark the problem of beggary. It is necessary to frame measures essential to release beggars from rehabilitation centers once they are made able to earn their livelihood, which in fact can be done by giving appropriate and essential occupational trainings and educational facilities while they are at the rehabilitation center. There are provisions for vocational training in the government run beggar homes, but these are worse than what is currently practiced in the prison system. Begging is a problem for society in as much as it is a concern for the person who is involved in it, because this indicates non-utilization of the available human resource and drags upon the existing resources of the society. We hence need to prioritize the rehabilitation of beggars, which must in fact be done in such a manner that they are effectively trained in the occupations or vocations of their choice, so that they once are made able to contribute towards themselves as well as society as soon as they come out of such rehabilitation center. Law must regard beggary as not a choice of people entering into it, but as a survival mechanism, and accordingly draft legal provisions and legal mechanisms and additional schemes and programs. The legal approach must adopt an all-inclusive policy to prevent begging, along with punishing and rehabilitating beggars, whichever is justified according to the scenario of the case. Another problem associated with the current law framework is that there is faulty, arbitrary and unfair implementation of the law at many stages in various forms. Government of India in fact had set up a committee in the year 1968 to study the problems of kidnapping of children for purposes of begging, which revealed the fact that the problem is more due to organized gangs being involved in this racket. In this regard, it is essential to make necessary amendments to the current provisions of the law, including Indian Penal Code and anti-beggary laws of the state. The Indian Penal Code's provisions, which deals with kidnapping or maiming a minor for purpose of begging under section 363A, in fact requires a relook so as to effectively implement it, thereby tackle the mafia. It cannot be forgotten that this in fact is an organized crime, and therefore the approach should be to break the organized gang. Further, if these acts are done against any person not being a minor, this also requires criminalization, which currently is not covered under Indian Penal Code. Hence, maiming or abducting an adult for the purpose of begging should also be brought into the framework of our country. On the other hand, it is also essential to make these laws practically implementable, which as of now is seldom used by police and the courts against offenders, that is the actual offenders. With regard to the children involved in begging, such child is actually treated as a child in need of care and protection under the Integrated Child Protection Scheme, which is being implemented by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. In addition to this, it is also essential to differentiate a beggar who is mentally ill from others and to provide essential medical treatment to him instead of imposing upon him criminal liability. According to Dr. Yogesh Thakur, about 39% of 49 beggars surveyed in Gujarat's Baroda district by a group of medicos, they suffer from one or the other psychiatric illness, and nearly 74% of them had history of addiction, psychiatric illness in the family and poor attitude of family members towards them. Over 68% admitted to the feeling of shame and losing self-esteem, 25% to guilt, 4% to suicidal tendencies and 8% to antisocial activities. Thus, the law requires a holistic approach so as to take care of these kind of realities that are the reasons behind this menace. Thereby, you can increase the effectiveness of the law. India as a nation needs to think that begging population requires considerable attention. With the nation aspiring to achieve world standards in every field, socio-economic measures are needed to curb the practice of begging problem in the country. The solution calls for a comprehensive program and a reorientation program for the existing programs. Philanthropic approach is essential to curb the menace in a more effective and appropriate manner, which is therapeutic and rehabilitative in nature and is not just punitive as the current practice goes. Especially being punitive in unjustified scenario is unwarranted and is of course illegal and goes against the principles of criminalization. As earlier said, the current rehabilitation approach also requires a relook. The rehabilitation facilities provided in such centers involves providing occasional training, and this also requires a relook as stated earlier. You need to reframe these schemes and practices so as to develop a better custodial jurisprudence, clarifying the nature of duties and responsibilities of the officials taking care of such custodial detention or rehabilitation as the case may be, and also imposing legal obligations upon such officers to effectively discharge their duties without any negligence on their part, and also by prescribing punishment upon such officers for failure to discharge their duties and obligations effectively. Unfortunately, despite media exposure of the conditions of beggars' home at Bangalore, which clearly showed failure on the part of the state and its agencies, that is, its officers, to discharge their duty to take care and rehabilitate beggars in their custody, yet so far no legal action had been taken against such erring officers. This is because of the ineffectiveness of the current law framework in the state. To conclude, it can be said that the current legal approach of India in criminalizing beggary goes against social, perception and ethical principles of the society. And this therefore calls for a relook at the factors of criminalization. In fact, this requires a relook at the current law, which can be on par with the principles of criminalization. It's important to note that beggary per se is not harmful and therefore doesn't deserve criminalization at all levels in all cases. Beggary, even if is committed due to necessity, it should be regarded as an act which is justified and hence doesn't deserve any punishment, rather should be treated as an offense that's committed under duress, which in fact is also an excusable act. Imposing criminal liability in such case is therefore not in accordance with the principles of criminal liability as well. Hence, unless there is guilty mind element that can be proved on the part of the accused, he cannot be held liable even under these laws, that is, the anti-beggary laws. The current legal approach of criminalizing beggary with punitive approach is therefore unjustified, and because this requires custodial detainment or imprisonment of beggars in most of the cases requires a completely fresh approach. Current practice of criminalizing and rehabilitating in custody fails to fulfill the purposes of punishment, including deterrent, retribution, compensation, reformation as well. Though our law aims to achieve the object of rehabilitation, it is currently involuntary in nature and is being forced upon the person who is considered as an accused under these anti-beggary laws. Therefore, these are unjust and unfair. What is required currently is the combination of the preventive as well as therapeutic approach rather than punitive alone, because punitive alone cannot fulfill the object of the law. Hence, a comprehensive law so as to take care of these concerns are essential. At the same time, certain aggravated acts of beggary deserves serious punishment, like forcing a person to get involved in this practice or using children or maiming children and then using them for begging. These requires serious criminal sanctions. Similarly, deliberately involving in beggary despite having means of livelihood should also be treated seriously. Further, begging leading to annoyance to public, using children for beggary as stated earlier, definitely deserves criminalization, for which existing Indian Penal Code and the state's anti-beggary laws are insufficient to deal with. Hence, criminalization of beggary per se is not just illegal but is also against the established factors of criminalization and principles of criminal liability. Thank you.